Can everyone hear me?
No.
No, do I need to speak louder?
Louder.
Louder? Okay.
Get rid of the
Ben,
mic.
can you turn me up higher?
No.
No? Okay, you guys are good. Okay, so we are finished. That's really loud. We're finishing the series My Bad Church Experience, and I want to start with the story of when I was in high school. In high school, I had a PlayStation 3.
What?
Yeah, who has PlayStation 3? Raise your hand.
Oh, wait.
I didn't have
Who has
PlayStation
Xbox?
in high school.
I have both. I have both.
We had Nintendo.
PC
I
Master
have
Race.
all those systems. But for a while, I only had the PlayStation 3. And the TV I used for it actually broke one year. So my parents got me a new TV for Christmas. And I convinced them to let me open it on Christmas Eve. So there I was, Christmas Eve, with this brand new 24-inch high-definition TV. And so I go to connect my PlayStation 3 to my TV, and I realized I didn't have the cable that connected the two. And nothing was open until the day after Christmas. So there I was with two great devices, but I was missing one thing, a simple cable that made everything just a full experience. And maybe for you, it wasn't a PlayStation 3. Maybe for you, there was a concert you wanted to go to, and you had the ticket and everything, but you realized you couldn't go. Last week, there was a Kanye West concert that I think was sold out, but not a lot of people showed up because of the ice storm. They couldn't get to the concert because of the transit. Or maybe when you were a kid, you had an easy bake oven, and the light bulb inside broke, so you could no longer cook the food because somehow a light bulb magically bakes food for us. Or maybe you're a bit older and you could have a car, but you can't afford the car insurance, so you have to take the bus everywhere. But regardless of whatever it was, we've all had an experience that we thought we had everything we needed to have a full experience, but we realized we were missing one small thing that ruined the experience for us. And a lot of you guys here have said you haven't had any bad church experience. And part of that is you guys are younger. But the thing is, a lot of times you guys aren't having a full church experience, and you guys don't realize it yet. And part of having a bad, not having a full church experience is actually having a bad church experience. You guys don't even know it. Kind of like having a PS3 and a TV, but you don't have the little cable that connects the two. So today we're going to talk about what's preventing you guys from having a full church experience today. But now, as we begin, does anyone remember what the Greek word for church is? Anyone? Art, one of the leaders.
Okay, I guess that doesn't count.
It counts. You can say what it is.
Ecclesia.
Ecclesia, exactly. And ecclesia means a gathering, and there needs to be, and there's some spiritual significance to that, because whenever ecclesia happened, they gathered and worshiped God. And the thing is, a gathering is usually social. If you call up your friends and you said, let's go bowling or something, you're all going to meet up, go bowling together, have fun, talk to each other, and be social. It's not, let's all go to the bowling alley, we'll go at the same time, we'll all bowl in different lanes, we won't talk to each other, but we'll all leave at the same time and get there at the same time. That's not a gathering, that's not us being social, that's the first week of school when you don't know anyone yet. So my question to you guys is, do you guys know what makes a church? Anyone have any ideas? People? That's spot on, that's perfect. Many people think church is actually a building, but it's actually a people. In Matthew 16:18, which should be up here, thank you, Jesus says, on this rock I will build my church. Jesus wasn't talking about the building. He didn't say, on this rock I'm going to build my church, and the sanctuary is going to be this big, we're going to fit this many people, we're going to have a youth center, and we got this amazing worship team, and we're going to have these speakers, all this stuff. He wasn't talking about that. Jesus was talking about a people and not a building. And that brings me to my first point, that church is a gathering of people, not a building. For church can still happen in a building. Right here, we're all meeting in a building, but we here, the people, are what make the church the church. So now that we know that the church is a gathering, and that gatherings are social things, raise your hand if you've ever been to a church and you left right away after service was done. Anyone here? Because that happens to me, and I hate it, and not a lot of people like it, mainly because when this happens, you feel like you're missing out on something. And I started coming here to youth when I was in grade 8, and every time I come, I felt like I was missing out on something. And I felt that way until I went to Bedlam. So I was here from September to end of January, early February, feeling I was missing something, and I didn't know why. I thought that maybe it's because I left right away. This is actually a blizzard. I didn't have any pictures of Bedlam because that was like 10 years ago. So this is the blizzard retreat, which I hope a lot of you guys are going to. So I would come to what was then called Friday Night Jam, and because I thought I was missing something, I'd then come earlier and leave later, thinking I wouldn't leave feeling I was missing something. But this isn't what happened, because back then I was really, really shy. Now I cannot shut up. You cannot pay me to shut up. I won't get the money. I will break that deal. But back then I was really shy. Because of that, I wasn't good at making friends. But then I went to Bedlam, and because when you're there, you're doing everything with a group of people, I eventually bonded with people there and then had a community with people, and I stopped feeling like I was missing on something. I had people I could hang out with outside of church, play video games with, we talk on MSN. I think you guys use like Facebook Messenger now. It was pretty much equivalent to Facebook Messenger minus posting pictures every 5 minutes. And then after that retreat, I would leave Jam, or what's now called Adrenaline, not feeling I was missing out on something. That's because I had community. And that's the key thing I want you guys to take from today. Community. Raise your hand here if someone brought you here today. Everyone's hand should be up right now. Because even if you drove here or you bused here or you walked here, you're here because someone eventually brought you here at some point, whether it was your friends or your parents or even a teacher for some of you maybe. We're all here because we're in community with someone and they want you to be part of this community here. So the second point I want to bring to you guys is that the key to a full church experience is community. The early church did it. That's why we have small groups after the messages every single week, because you want to help build those friendships and build those small groups and help build your relationships and build your faith through friendships and through relationships here. God cared so much about relationships that in Matthew 5:23-24, he said, "So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled with your brother and then come and offer your gift." And in the biblical times, there would be long lines to go to these altars and to offer their sacrifices, whether it's animals, money, whatever. And God was saying, I don't care how long you wait in that line. I don't care if you're there now. If you have wronged someone, leave your gift here and go fix whatever you have with your friend or whoever you wrong, and then come back. Because you can't act like you're good with God if you're mistreating others. And this is the whole thing about what Christianity is about. You can't be going around mistreating others, bullying people, whatever it is, mistreating people, whatever, and not be right and think you can be right with God doing that. Being a Christian isn't about that. Being a Christian is about physically going to church. It's not, nowhere in the Bible, and the New Testament doesn't say, go to church. It doesn't say that. It does say, don't forsake the gathering, which means don't disabandon or don't abandon your church community. And a great way to stay in that community is being part of a church. And there's no Christian checklist. Many people think that there's a Christian checklist, and if you read your Bible every day or you went to church once a week, then you'll increase your score. And if your score is high enough, then you'll make it to heaven. But this isn't true. Some actually believe that the more boring church is, the higher their score is because they had to endure a boring church service. When I was in high school, I actually would hope some weeks, I would hope that Pastor Sunday would be really, really boring, and it would make up for me missing next week at church because I want to hang out with my friends. But this simply is not true. And that brings me to my third point, that there is no Christian checklist. So then, how are people supposed to know if we're Christians if it doesn't have to do with church and there's no Christian checklist that we can flash at people or whatever? Does anyone have any ideas? How people know that we're Christians? Anyone? Yeah. We act? In what way?
Like how we act.
Yeah, that's actually very true. In John 13:34-35, it says, "A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another just as I have loved you. You are also to love one another. By this, all people will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another." So the way that people know that we're Christians is not that we go to church. Because how are non-Christians supposed to know that we're Christians by us going to church when they're not even here in the first place? It doesn't make any sense. So the way for people to know that we're Christians is how we treat other people and that we're loving everyone. And I just want to apologize to anyone here who may not be a Christian or who walked away from their faith because someone judged them on something so silly as church attendance, or you may be confronted on something, but it wasn't done in love. I just want to apologize if you've had any experience with something like that before. And that brings me to my fourth point, that Christianity is about having a relationship with God, and through that relationship, because of that relationship, you then love others because God loved you, and you want to share that love with other people. So then how would you find a community of Christians? An easy way is being part of a church, and not just going to a church and leaving right after, but actually being part of the church, being part of the community, and getting involved with different things. Church isn't never supposed to be a bad thing. It's actually supposed to be a very good thing that enables you. We have cell phones, and it helps us do many, many things, but when we're on it 24/7, it can actually become a bad thing. Church is the same way. It depends on how you use the church. If you use it to make a check off this non-existent checklist, then it's no good. But if you're actually part of it and get yourself involved, then church is very good and helps you be in those relationships with others. And the early church was very different than the way that many Sunday morning gatherings look like now. They did all these things together. They loved one another, they ate with one another, they went to each other's houses, they hung out with each other, they were in community with one another. I actually have a list here, next slide, that shows all the things they did. They forgave one another. Simply means that if someone wronged you and they apologize, you don't hold it against them. They accepted one another. That means that you involve other people just regardless of any differences you may have. They care for one another, they encourage one another, they submit to one another. This pretty much means that if someone in your community, whether it's a parent, teacher, youth leader, pastor, whoever, has authority over, that you actually listen to them and listen to what they say. They bared with one another, they restored one another. These two means that if someone's down or whatever, that you're there to help build them up. If your friend's having a bad day, you're there for them, you're just encouraging them. They carried one another's burdens. That just means that if your friend needs help with something or they're unable to do something themselves, they are there to help them do those things. And above all, they love one another. And this is what community is, and this is how God intends the church to be. This is what God expects of Christians to act with one another. Not just Christians, but non-Christians too. God says, I don't care if you're a Christian or not. Love everyone. Be in community with everyone. And if you're not a Christian today, these aren't rules that you necessarily have to follow. Nowhere in the Bible does it say everyone has to follow these rules. It's for Christians, but these are still great ways to help build a good community and a good environment for yourself. And if you are a Christian today, this is what God expects of you. And it's not so much a command, it's more of an invitation to be part of this great community that help build you up and in turn, but also build others up as well. So there's many ways you can actually get involved here at Rexdale. One of the easiest ways to get involved in the community here is actually volunteering. And we have many ways to get involved here and volunteer. One of them is a Sunday school here. Another is the Power Kids, which I think is Sunday school, but for younger kids. I was too old when I came here to be part of that. There's also, I think, the 6-week day camp we have here. Solange isn't here this week, but if you ever want to get involved in these things, you can talk to her, you could talk to Tanya or myself even, and we can help you guys get plugged in. But I want to challenge you guys, before you even begin to get involved in these ministries, look around you right now. This is your immediate church community. If you're not involved in this community, don't even think about getting yourself involved with a bigger church community. You have to be part of the community you're in right now in order to get used to serve in another community in the church. So I want to challenge you guys. You guys have a week left of the break before school starts. So you guys have a week where you're probably just not doing much. You might have a few family things, but chances are you have a day or two where you're free. So I want to challenge you guys, just hang out with some of your friends here at church outside of the Friday night here or Sunday morning at church. Just hang out with one another. Play video games with one another. You actually have my permission to go home and play video games with your friends, which I don't think you'll usually get at church. So take advantage of that. And I know for a lot of you guys, sometimes distance is a factor and your parents don't want to drive you somewhere. And that's totally fine. And if that's the case, I challenge you guys just to make the best of your time here on Friday nights and Sunday mornings at church. And I have another challenge for you guys. Sorry, I need some water. Losing my voice. Another challenge I have for you guys is no one likes not being part of the community. No one likes being the awkward new guy that comes here, or new girl that comes here. So I challenge you guys that just in the previous slide, if you could pull that back up, they accepted one another. The second thing on the list is just accept new people that come here and welcome them to the community that you're a part of. Because we've all been new. We've all come here and felt a bit uncomfortable at first because we didn't know anyone. So I just want to challenge you guys that you make an attempt and involve people that you don't usually hang out with to be part of your group. Now I'm going to invite Tanya to come up and small groups. Thanks, guys.
Each of us and a great message, a great way to end off our series. We really don't have a lot of people here.
Boys versus girls.
We're just going to split guys and girls, I think.
Yes.
Because we have no adrenaline kids. So the guys are going to stay in here. And